I'm stuck on 8:59.
Computer says 9, but I don't know.
Good morning, Todd County. Welcome to Tuesday, September 5th, 2023, Todd County Board of Commissioners regular board meeting. Would you please stand for the pledge? I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. And for roll call, we do have Commissioners Noska, Commissioner Denny, Commissioner Becker, and Commissioner Newman present. Welcome, everybody. Is there any amendments to the agenda?
Mr. Chair, I'd like to amend 4.1, meeting minute approval. I do have a correction, and I can bring it up to show it if you'd like. It was just a typo on this motion for the commissioner's salary last time, and we had to correct that because Commissioner Newman voted against that, and we had it incorrect in our minutes. So I just want to get that correct on there.
Okay, all right. You've heard the request. Is there a motion, please?
So moved.
Motion by Denny. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Noska. Discussion. If none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. All right. Consent items.
Today we have meeting minute approval for August 15th, 2023. Gambling permit for the Burrillville Sportsman's Club. Ivy's Legacy Foundation one-day temporary on-sale liquor license. Sackanack Campground one-day dance license. Resignation of summer help Jaden Evanson 8/16/2023. Resignation of summer help Travis Mahler 8/23/2023. Appoint eligibility worker Ashley Gray, start date to be determined. Appoint child service manager Jonathan Mattson, start date 9/6/2023. Appoint child service supervisor Derek Eberly, start date 9/6/2023.
Okay, you've heard the request. Is there a motion, please?
So moved.
Motion by Noska. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Denny. Discussion. If none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you. All right, commissioners, today we are going to honor Commissioner Rodney Erickson. Shar and Tiff, thank you for coming today. The Todd County Board of Commissioners dedicates this plaque in honor and memory of Commissioner Rodney Erickson. And this plaque has been sitting by me since the funeral. So his dedication and his leadership to Todd County are nobly recognized and will be not forgotten. Commissioner Erickson served on many committees, was passionate about his work in local government, and will forever be remembered as a great leader in Todd County. Rod will also be remembered by his big smile, his great personality, and always making sure we sharpen our pencils while doing the budget. Today we recognize Commissioner Erickson for his service to District 3 and Todd County as a whole. So I just want to say thank you. Okay. Thank you, Rod, for serving Todd County. Will not be forgotten. Any comments from anybody? Chris?
Yeah, I want to thank Shar and Tiffany for being here this morning and also for allowing Rod to spend so much time with us. He's a great guy.
Anybody else?
No.
Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you.
Okay. We're going to continue on. County Auditor Treasurer.
First item I have today would be the auditor warrants. Background is sent for your review. Recommendation is to approve the August 2023 auditor warrants with an ACH and a manual payment totaling in the amount of $1,573,669.26.
Okay, further requests, is there a motion, please?
So moved.
Motion by Becker. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Nazca. Discussion? If none, roll call vote.
Commissioner Becker?
Yes.
Commissioner Nazca?
Yes.
Commissioner Denny?
Yes.
Commissioner Newman?
Yes.
The next item I have then is the commissioner warrants. Background is sent for your review. The recommendation is to approve the commissioner warrants with an ACH and a manual payment totaling in the amount of $118,099.93.
Okay, further requests, is there a motion, please?
So moved.
Motion by Nazca. Is there a second?
Second.
Ooh,
Go ahead.
Denny. Second by Denny. Discussion? If none, roll call.
Commissioner Nazca?
Yes.
Commissioner Denny?
Yes.
Commissioner Becker?
Yes.
Commissioner Newman?
Yes.
Next item then I have is the Health and Human Service Commissioner warrants. Background is sent for review. Recommendation is to approve the Health and Human Service Commissioner warrants with an ACH and a manual payment totaling in the amount of $129,886.35.
Okay, further requests, is there a motion, please?
So moved.
Motion by Denny. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Becker. Discussion? If none, roll call vote, please.
Commissioner Denny?
Yes.
Commissioner Becker?
Yes.
Commissioner Nazca?
Yes.
Commissioner Newman?
Yes.
Next item I have then is the Health and Human Service SSIS warrants. Background is sent for your review. Recommendation is to approve the Health and Human Service SSIS warrants with an ACH and a manual payment totaling in the amount of $76,546.74.
Okay, you've heard the request. Is there a motion, please?
So moved.
Motion by Becker. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Nazca. Discussion? If none, roll call.
Commissioner Becker?
Yes.
Commissioner Nazca?
Yes.
Commissioner Denny?
Yes.
Commissioner Newman?
Yes.
Oh, fee schedule. The next item is the county fee schedule hearing. The background is Todd County is in the process of updating the county fee schedule to be implemented for 2024 and is required by law to hold a public hearing to gather any public input on the proposed fees before adoption. The recommendation is to set the county fee schedule public hearing for October 3rd, 2023, to begin at 9:15 a.m. in the County Commissioners Boardroom, and to instruct all appropriate legal notices to be generated and published accordingly.
Okay, you've heard the request. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Nazca. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Danny. So, I got a question. When do the departments have to get their fee schedule into you by?
I believe an email was already sent from Jolene out to the department heads, and so we would need that in before the Wednesday before this meeting, so we can get everything updated.
Okay.
I think she gave a deadline in the email. I don't
Well, I think
recall it.
Parks and Trails had a discussion on fees, and we have to run that onto this, correct? So,
Friday is the deadline. She needs it this Friday.
okay,
So we can get some time to implement everything into correct order.
okay. All right, we'll try to get that to
I
you.
think she sent an email to everybody that said the deadline.
Yeah, okay. All right, any other discussion?
Yes, if we could, Denise, didn't Extension ask about that too? Did someone send it to Extension?
He would have.
They would
also-
have gotten
Tony
it,
would-
the email also.
Yes,
Okay. Thank you.
yep. And I'll just double check with Jolene to make sure, but
Okay.
he would be part of that listing.
Anything else? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
All right.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
The last item I have then today is the county motor pool vehicle purchase. The background is the county motor pool vehicle unit number 9 is a 2015 Chevy Impala, is experiencing extensive mechanical issues and requires extensive repair, which has been deemed that the vehicle is unsafe for employees to use. Due to the age and condition of this vehicle, the auditor treasurer recommends to replace the vehicle at this time. Communications with the state bid vendors is depicting that a new vehicle could not be delivered for 6 to 9 months at a minimum, given the current market availability. Due to the immediate need of the division, the bids from local vendors have been secured with the recommendation of the attached vehicle purchase from NIAS Staples, Minnesota. And we're looking at purchasing, the recommendation is to approve the car fleet purchase from NIAS Chevrolet of Staples, a 2020 Chevy Trax all-wheel drive for the amount of $21,632.15. This is a used, but it's just off a lease, so it has very low miles on it. It's the only thing we could find around. Reached out to the state bids. They have nothing. Would not get anything for 9 months, 6 months maybe, but supply is very limited, even on them building cars. Have enough of the bigger Traverses, which is an SUV, so this smaller version of a Chevy Trax is kind of a nice fleet vehicle. Obviously, it came off of a lease that a fleet used it as well. We also will be looking at, we also had an incident a couple weeks ago where an employee got stuck 2 hours away with a transmission that went out on a car. So we've had a lot of
Wow,
older
issue.
vehicles that are failing us, so this is a dire need.
Okay. Okay, you've heard the request. Is there a motion?
So move.
Motion by Becker. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Noska. Discussion. If none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right, Great River Regional Library. I'll get that out yet. Morning.
Good morning.
Good morning, I'm Karen Punsack. I'm the Executive Director at Great River Regional Library, and I'm here to deliver our budget report to Todd County. We come twice a year to the counties, once to talk about our annual activities, and then once to, just following budget time, to talk about how that process unfolded and what's to come in 2024. On this first slide, you can see that we are a 6-county library region. We include all of those 32 cities that are marked with an actual library location. Those cities provide the buildings that we operate in, and Great River provides the book and the people and the computers that make those libraries come to life. We also have a locker system out in Sartell called GRL To Go that's primarily supported by the community of Sartell. If you go to the next slide, you can see that this is our strategic plan. We came and talked to you about that earlier this year. It was passed last year, and we've been really leaning into that new theory of change that came as part of that plan. So we exist so that people in our communities can find and use trusted information that they need to thrive. And that's becoming more and more challenging every day because the needs are varied, and we are committed to serving the entire public, whether they're coming through our doors or not. So it's a monumental task, but our staff embrace that every day. And we are really fortunate to have such a committed staff over the 6-county region that work together as one team. If you go to the next slide, you can see these are where the locations are in Todd County. We've got Eagle Bend, we've got Great Eagle, we've got Staples, and here in Long Prairie. Eagle Bend is in the process of renovating that building. It's a shared space with the museum. I think Commissioner Newman may remember when that vacant lot came up for sale many years ago. They're continuing on that path. It's been a very long and extended process in purchasing the property from the county and then expanding the building, and they're doing it all in-house. Like it's a very community-led project, which is, you know, kind of interesting at times when you're dealing with multiple contractors, and it's to the point now where they've actually poked a hole in the wall. So we're getting close to having that space available for the museum stuff to move out of the library space, and then the library space to expand. So we're really looking forward to that being completed this year, and we continue to have great support in all of our other communities as well. If you go to the next slide, we just completed a user survey with St. Cloud State University. We had done this back in 2018, and the results 5 years later were something we were really interested in post-COVID. Like, what do people actually say about the library now? And the survey was sent to people who used the library and then also people who had stopped using the library. And what we were really happy to see is the level of response. We had over 5,000 people respond to that survey. Of the people who come to the library, over half say they come at least 11 times a year. So they're coming once a month. We have some really heavy library users out there. And what was interesting is, you know, we often talk about all the other services we deliver, but people are still coming for paper books. 79% say they use the library to check out a book. And it's really a challenge knowing that our budgets are generally pretty flat, that we're asked to offer all of these other services like digital materials, which are fairly expensive, but people still want us to maintain those core services at the same levels or higher. So it's something we're continually to monitor. 33% said they're using digital materials. That's up from 5 years ago, and that will continue to grow, I expect. One of the proudest points of the survey for me personally is just it speaks to the dedication of our staff across the desk. 71% of participants in the survey said 10 out of 10 we'd recommend this library to someone else. And you can't really ask for a higher net promoter score. You know, like, people really appreciate the services and say that it's good for someone else in their life, and that's really fantastic. Those numbers have been stable or improved since the 2018 survey. So, you know, in spite of all the challenges of the past 5 years, our staff really stepped up to the plate and expanded where people wanted to see expansion and maintained where people wanted to see that service to continue. The next slide shows you just an overall of next year's budget. For those of you who are new to the process, we have a joint powers agreement with the 6 counties, and that budget process is outlaid in that agreement. So between the 6 counties, each pays its share based on the number of borrowers they have, the population, and then the net tax capacity. So the number of people who could use the library, the people who are using the library, and then your tax base and your ability to pay for those services. And so even if we have a flat budget, that budget number can bounce around from one year to the next between the 6 counties. Our county shares are about 70% of the total budget, as you can see, but it's divided differently based on those formula factors. And then we have lots of other sources of revenue, including our state aid. And right now, Todd County shares about 3.43% of the total budget. For next year, that'll be a slight decrease because partly the formula, and then partly because our use of reserves, which we've been continuing to spend down over time. So right now, about 6% of our budget is coming from 2 different sources of reserve funding, and I can talk about that a little more as we go forward. But this is the budget that was set in the joint powers agreement. It has to be passed by August 1st, so we just passed this in July at our board meeting. The next slide will show you that dollars per capita, Great River really delivers a lot of value for the dollar. Statewide, to offer library services, the average cost per capita is $41.11. Overall, at Great River, including all revenue sources, it's about $20.19. So we offer library services at about half the cost of other library systems. That's partly because of the city-county partnership, and it's partly because we operate as one entity rather than 6 different county libraries or 32 different city libraries. There's a lot of efficiency gained from having an economy of scale. So we're able to offer like one set of IT staff who maintain a really high level of computer offerings across the 6-county region, but we don't have to pay for that county by county. We do end up doing things like floating books. So we buy 1 copy of a book and it might be available in all 32 libraries, but it might live in Long Prairie today and Delano tomorrow. And that also helps us by floating those materials. The other things we've been able to do with the current budget is expand projects that have been really successful over the last couple of years. Wi-Fi to Go, I know we've talked about here in Todd County before, and we are now up to 300 devices that are available for lending across the system. Some are available on demand when you come into a library. If it's there, you can check it out, and some are available on hold now, which is a new model of service. If you go to the next slide, you can see that the Todd County share is that bottom line of the 6 counties. The table below shows 10 years worth of contributions for each county and how that compares with each other. Todd County's has been pretty stable over the 10-year period. You can see on the top, Wright and Stearns County are starting to flip spots, which will also impact the membership of our Great River Board next year. So currently, Todd County has one vote. It's Commissioner Denny. Thank you, Commissioner Denny, for being part of the budget process this year. And then Todd, Benton, and Morrison also have one commissioner on the board. The other representatives are determined by budget share. So in addition to a commissioner, Sherburne County has 2 citizen members, Wright County has 3, and Stearns has 4. That will change next year. Wright County will have 4, and Stearns will have 3, because they're paying slightly more than Stearns County next year for the first time. That's never happened in Great River, so it'll be interesting to see if that number bounces around from one year to the next, and we'll be switching board members. It'll be interesting to see what happens. The next slide shows you also just the overall dollars. So the total budget for next year is $10,198,376 for Great River, which is a 1.6% total change for the budget. Of that, we have just over $200,000 worth of reserves coming in addition to the carryover we moved from last year. So when we have a surplus at the end of a budget year, we will actually carry that forward into the next budget year planning cycle, so that we're not just putting it into reserves. The board's been taking a look at our reserves, and we're well over the amount that we need in the bank, so we've been trying to spend that down over time. We actually have a 7-year spend down plan on that $200,000 amount, so that we can continue to maintain stable funding or slightly increased funding and keep those county contributions down as much as we possibly can. As you can see, the Todd County contribution is going down a little bit. We have a 2% decrease next year, partly due to that additional reserves and partly due to the total change in budget. One of the goals this year with the budget was to keep all of the counties at $0 or less. And so we did add some additional reserves into the budget process this year to make sure that was true for all 6 counties. We are just really proud of the work we're able to do with a fairly lean budget process. It's a big budget, but when you divide it over 32 locations, it's always a stretch. So we would just want to thank Todd County for your contributions to Great River Regional Library. We're a stronger region because we have Todd County and the cities that we serve here. And we are always open to ideas and suggestions on how we can do things better and offer services to our public as they need them. So thank you for your support. I can answer any questions if you have them.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks.
All right.
Any questions for Karen?
Thank you, though.
Thank you
Great.
for driving up and giving us that great report.
Yeah, thanks. It's always a pleasure to come up to Long Prairie. It's one of my favorite cities. So.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Have a great day.
You too.
Public Works.
Morning.
Morning.
Our first item on the agenda this morning for Public Works is a request to approve a cooperative construction agreement for Bridge 77K02. The background with this is the city of Browerville approached me a while back, and we added a bridge, 77K02, to our priority replacement list. And if you wouldn't mind scrolling down to the map, this bridge currently isn't a bridge. It's a culvert structure on Creamery Avenue in the city of Browerville as it goes up near County Road 21, just north of the old Land O'Lakes Creamery, right there on that structure on Harris Creek. Going through that, we put this on the bridge priority replacement list in support of the city of Browerville. The city of Browerville went out and hired an engineer, and they proved that this structure, once it's going to be replaced, would become hydraulically deficient, which then means it can be eligible for bridge bonding money. At that point in time, they realized they could reach out and use that state money to help fund this project. Upon receiving that report and approval from the MnDOT, we put together this cooperative agreement that basically is our standard cooperative agreement where we help local cities, local townships do these types of projects. With that, the city approved that said agreement, I believe on August 9th, 2023. Therefore, I'm bringing it up to the board here for your approval so we can keep moving forward with the development of this project. So our options are at this time are to approve the attached cooperative construction agreement or do not, and our recommendation is to approve the attached cooperative construction agreement.
Mr. Chair, if I could, Lauren, that yellow line that's on this map, is that the boundaries of city of Briarville that goes jagged like that?
That's from our GIS department, I believe it is. So
Oh,
that'd be the
that's-
city limits, so that would just be inside of that. And I don't know if they have plans on expanding or not, so.
Okay.
Okay,
I don't know, would you happen to know, Adam,
I
if
don't
that's?
know.
That is city limits.
That is?
That is the city limits, that yellow line?
Yep.
Oh, okay,
Because I used to live right here at 1010.
okay.
Well, there's our local expert right there.
Yeah.
Thank you. Good question.
okay. You've heard the request. Is there a motion?
So move.
Motion by Becker. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Danny. Discussion. If none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Great.
Yep.
Believe it or not, today is the first day of school, so fall is almost here.
God.
Even though doesn't feel like that outside the last couple of days, but meaning that brings up Public Works to request setting a meeting date for our 2023 fall road meeting. We don't have a huge number of items on the agenda, but enough that we believe that warrants having the board out for discussion on what went good, what went wrong, and what we're looking at for the future. So with that, we provided a number of dates that would work for us, and would love to invite you out to set a meeting date.
Okay, what's the board's wishes here?
Commissioner Newman, if I will, if I may here. I will be out of state the 13th through the 16th. I would recommend the 22nd for my personal schedule.
That's
If it
kind of,
doesn't work for someone else, that's fine.
no,
as well.
that's where I was kind of looking at too, the 22nd.
Okay, I just want to have a little discussion before we
Yeah.
go forward.
Anybody else?
Yeah,
22nd?
I'll be gone the 22nd.
Okay.
But it's
But
out.
Don't hold it up over
How
me,
about the,
though.
how about the 20th?
Well, then Lou's gonna be gone.
I can maybe swing the 20th. That's a possibility if I get back in time.
I could do the 20th. I'll be
20th?
available. Yeah.
Let's shoot for the 20th. And if we have personnel, we can work
Yeah, we can
around
do
it.
that.
Correct?
right, we would have personnel that morning, right? Or not?
No,
No?
no, we would not, because that is the same week as board. So that
Yeah.
Monday would be available.
Okay.
Okay, request a motion to set the fall road meeting date for November 20th. Do we have a motion?
I'll make the motion to set the road meeting date for November 20th at 9 a.m. at the Long Prairie
Yes,
Shop.
please.
Okay, do we have a second to that?
Second.
Second by Danny. Further discussion? If none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Carried. All right, thank you.
Excellent, thank you.
All righty. Solid waste.
Good morning, everyone.
How are you?
Good.
Good.
And yourself?
Yeah.
The first item I have before the board this morning is our market price analysis for 2023. The background is Minnesota Statute 297H requires that political subdivisions declare by resolution the market price for services related to solid waste management each year. If the tipping fee is less than the market price and the political subdivision subsidizes the cost of the service at this facility, the subdivision is then responsible for that tax. Todd County does not have a tipping fee below that market price, therefore does not have that tax responsibility. And attached was the table illustrating the calculations. There was no change in this from last year, so our market price of $82 was established again for this current upcoming season. The options is to adopt the attached resolution establishing the market price at $82 or do not adopt the attached resolution. It is our recommendation to adopt the attached resolution establishing market price for $82 per ton.
Okay. All right, you've heard the request. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Denny. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Nazca. Discussion. If none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried.
Okay, then the second item we have before you today is a HHW agreement with Crow Wing County. The background is Crow Wing and Todd County share in the benefit of a household hazardous waste agreement. This agreement provides a joint program to manage household hazardous waste effectively. It also furthers the goals of an environmentally sound and safe program through shared management practices. This agreement was discussed within our solid waste committee. Our options is to approve this agreement or do not approve this agreement. It is our recommendation to approve this agreement with Crow Wing County for the household hazardous waste.
Okay, for the request, is there a motion, please?
So moved.
Motion by Denny. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Nazca. Discussion.
I've got a question. This has no financial bearing on anything, or is it just agreement for the household waste, correct?
That is correct, and there is no cost. It is, it's a revenue generating stream that we use. This coalition with Crow Wing County really helps it broaden our education, and we use them for continued learning and educational programs and that kind of thing. And they also help us do our annual reporting through that, yes.
Okay.
And we've been with Crow Wing County quite a few years with this, right?
Yep, that is correct. And it's similar to using, I know Chris Pelzer is working with us a lot on our continuing education through Cedar. Walters, so we're expanding that use of educating materials through our recycling program as well, utilizing Crow Wing County and Otter Tail County's resources that, you know, we are part of that Prairie Lake Solid Waste Administration, so
Right.
at no cost.
Okay. Any further discussion? If not, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
All right, thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
Have a good day. All right, planning and zoning.
Good morning.
Morning.
First item this morning is the Schwarzentuber Amish Cemetery Final Plat Extension. Section 503, Part 1 of the subdivision ordinance requires final plats to be presented to the Board of Commissioners within 12 months from approval of the preliminary plat unless an extension is requested in writing by the subdivider and granted by the county board. Schwarzentuber Amish Cemetery was approved for preliminary plating on October 18th of 2022, and a request to extend the 12-month deadline has been submitted in writing. Options are to approve this extension or to not, and the recommendation would be approval of the extension to the final plat deadline of the Schwarzentuber Amish Cemetery not to exceed October 18th of 2024. And the letter that was submitted is attached there also.
Mr. Chair,
Yep.
has there been any burials in the extension area?
Not that
of
I'm
this?
aware of. We've been out there a number of times because one of the conditions was fencing. So
Yeah.
we've monitored, I guess we haven't specifically monitored that, but to my knowledge, there's no burials there. And they've had trouble with getting their title opinion stuff done. The attorney they were working with, I don't remember what happened, but is no longer practicing. So they had a number of things that now they've brought Justice in Law on to assist with wrapping all this up. And then she had to go out to an outside attorney for this title opinion stuff that's not normal her practice area. So there's a number of components they're trying to get wrapped up here and just needed more time to do that.
Okay, for the request on the extension, is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Nazca. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Denny. Discussion. If none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you. All right.
Next is Cheetah Estates Final Plat. An application for subdivision to establish two-lot plat on parcel 1400149001 in Candota Township, submitted on June 13th. Preliminary plat was approved on July 18th with two conditions. One, new accesses must be approved by the road authority, and two, the accesses shall only be connected to Akelea Drive, and no access shall be allowed via US Highway 71. Planning and zoning has completed the review of Cheetah Estates and determined it is ready for final platting. Options are to approve the final plat or do not approve, and recommendation is approval of the attached resolution for the final plat as presented to formally establish Cheetah Estates. You can see the final plat drawing there and some location information.
Okay. Okay, for the request, is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Danny. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Nazca. Discussion. So this does not butt up to 70, yeah, it does?
It does butt
So
up
all
on
along
the
71.
west side,
Yep,
the smaller lot, and that was one of the conditions. Township was there and talked about that, and we got response from DOT. They obviously never allow accesses, so that was how that condition was derived there.
okay. Any other discussion? If none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Okay, next is DeSmith Edition Final Plat, an application for subdivision to establish a one-lot plat on parcel 0300939900, Birchdale Township. Submitted on April 24th. Preliminary plat was approved on July 18th with no conditions. Planning and zoning has completed the review of DeSmith Edition and determined it's ready for final platting. Options are approval of final plat as presented or to deny the final plat. Recommendation is approval. The attached resolution for the final plat as presented to formally establish DeSmith Edition. You can
Okay.
see the plat and stuff attached there also.
All right. You've heard the request. Is there a motion, please?
So moved.
Motion by Denny. Is there a second?
Second.
Second by Becker. Discussion. If none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
All right. And Kroll's First Edition Final Plat, an application for subdivision to establish a two-lot plat on parcel 06004510, Burnhamville Township, submitted on May 31st. Preliminary plat was approved on July 18th with no conditions. Planning and zoning has completed review of Kroll's First Edition and determined it's ready for final platting. Options are to approve the final plat or to deny the final plat. Recommendation is approval of attached resolution for the final plat as presented to formally establish Kroll's First Edition. And just one additional note on this one, in the preliminary plat, they had what's the word, apostrophe for Kroll's. Final plat didn't have it. We confirmed that neither of those existed as final plats. So that's the only difference between preliminary and final platting.
Okay. All right, you've heard the request. Is there a motion, please?
So moved.
Oscar, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Danny. Discussion. If none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Carried. Thank you. All right.
I'll invite Deja up here for this last one here. Mike and Barb James Feedlot Project, Section 8.06, Part 4 of the Todd County Planning and Zoning Ordinance requires the zoning administrator to present technical evaluation and findings of an engineering to the governing body when an application for permit is within the general floodplain district. Mike and Barb James are proposing a feedlot project within the floodplain along Prairie River, and technical evaluation materials are attached here. Options would be to approve the permit as presented or do not approve the permit. Deja will walk through some more stuff about the project, but ultimately our recommendation would be approval of the land use permit application for Mike and Barb James on parcel 1900231100. We have the application fees paid, all that stuff. We'll present this, and then we would just need a motion that we can essentially go ahead and issue that permit. We would take it from there. But I'll let Deja add more related to the project here.
Yep. So basically what I just handed out to you was some updated material, because as we're reviewing, we noticed that the engineer plan only had for 10 feet on the elevation platform, and it needed to be 15 feet per ordinance. So that has been updated for you, and I also put in, if you are looking at conditions at all, some potential conditions based on your ordinance. If you look at the map here, you can see where Mike and Barb James property exists. It's on the Long Prairie River. As you scroll down through to some of the other maps, that's just the cross section of it, but you can see that it is in what's called the flood fringe area of the Long Prairie and the Moran Creek, so they join together at that corner. And then if you scroll down one more, Denise, there's or Chris, or whoever's operating, the circle just designates where they are. So you have specific ordinance requirements for projects being constructed in floodplains. This is an allowable use as long as the proposed building is built above elevation, the base flood elevation. So that was determined working with Seal Strauss and Lou Kirchhoff. It was surveyed, and the base flood elevation pin was put in. So the amount of cubic yards of fill being brought in is based on what it takes to bring it above the base flood elevation. There's a lot of more details in there. Hopefully you had some chance to kind of flip through some of that, but I'm happy Barb is here as well, the landowner, to answer any questions you guys may have.
Okay. There it is.
Mr. Chair, if I could, this is very unusual to bring it in front of the county commissioners versus the Soil and Water Board, correct? So financials and so forth, how does that go forward if we give the approval? The county's not going to be liable for any of the expense, correct? Soil and Water will be liable, or just kind of walk me through this.
The cost share portion of
Yes.
it? Oh, yes. So for this project, they have applied through various sources, and one of the sources is the SWCD water-based implementation funding. This was approved by the steering committee last week, and it's about $50,000 that they're applying for this project. So.
And
Yep.
just to add in, the reason that this is in front of U.S. Commissioners is because these are ordinance requirements to get this approval. So that's all we're here doing, is showing you that we have all the information. We went through it, and yeah, we're basically ready to click approve on the permit, but needed to get that formally from you guys first.
And that document that I supplied to you is just like each section of or each item in the ordinance, we just check, check, check. And the only one that we didn't have by the time this was mailed to you originally was that extra 5 feet we needed of width around the whole thing.
And so when the project is done, Luke will certify the elevation, and she'll give that information back to us so we can certify elevations are all good. I forget what else I was going to add. But yeah, we have everything there and ready to issue the permit here.
Okay.
Mr. Chair,
Yep.
if I may. So what's the total size of this project? Like,
Yep,
Is
it is,
Is it an acre, 2 acres, half acre? You know, I'm just.
well, you'd have to do the calculations, but 100 by 432.
Is-
So 43,000, so it's less than an acre.
Okay, I was just curious if
Yep.
it, required a SWIP or a stormwater pollution prevention plan to, to do
Yep,
that. But
it slides under that.
perfect. No, that's,
Yeah.
I was just making sure we check all the boxes.
Yep. But I did have a recommendation that we do have the engineer supply us.
It might
with
not be a bad idea just because of the location of it.
Yeah,
Stormwater management plan, yeah.
What's that?
Stormwater
Yeah.
management plan, yeah.
Yeah, stormwater pollution prevention plan in case, you do get a heavy rain event during construction because you're so close to in proximity to the river,
yep,
whatnot.
yep.
It's an unusual property, being both Moran and the Long Prairie River meet at that point.
Yeah. And they certainly have had their struggles planning through this,
Yeah.
but it's the land they own.
Yeah.
Okay, is there any other questions? So has anybody else gotta approve this federally or anything with?
We've
being
worked
within
with
the
them,
floodplain?
oh man, when was that? A while ago.
Yeah,
Yeah.
we've worked through with like MPCA, we've worked through DNR, we've worked through all of that because I didn't even want to send them down this path if it wasn't feasible. So
Yep.
right in the beginning, which was what, 4 years ago when we started this, we reviewed all that ahead to make sure. The SWCD board will have to review that's the next place this is going. But other than that, they have all their approvals.
Okay. All right, you've heard the request. Do we have a motion?
I'll make that motion.
By Becker, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Noska. Discussion. If none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, carried, thank you.
For your time.
Nancy. Good morning, how are you?
Good morning, good, how are you guys? All right, one agenda item today. Okay. The agenda item is minor maintenance, County Ditch 19, a section of lateral 4. Background, the attachment, Todd County Drainage Inspection Report, and the Corbin Excavating estimate for the minor maintenance, and this was brought to the July 5th work session. Options are approve minor maintenance or do not approve minor maintenance. The recommendation, the Todd County Board of Commissioners approves the following by motion. Acting as ditch authority, approves hiring Corbin Excavating, Inc. to maintain approximately 4,460 feet of lateral 4 that is south of 350th Street. Brush will be chipped, trees will be removed from one side, and spoil will be excavated and leveled on the same side. The estimate for the project is $2.50 per foot for a total of $11,150. Financial implications of the CD 19 assessment roll and the county ditch assessment roll of the 19 assessment roll does have the money in their maintenance fund to cover this expense.
Okay. Heard the request, is there a motion?
So moved.
Motion by Noska, is there a second?
Second.
Second by Becker, discussion.
Mr. Chair, and then I don't know if you want to just go through the, if you just refresh your memory from last time, that's the section that's going to be cleaned. And it is just pretty much overgrown with trees and brush and silt.
A little less than a mile.
Yep.
Of ditch cleaning
Yep.
at $11,000.
Yeah.
Which,
And that's $250 a foot is a good,
when I sit at the Sauk River watershed, it would be $500,000.
I know. So,
Sorry.
and there's no steep banks or anything on this section, so it's a pretty
Yep.
easy project.
All right, we have a motion and a second. Any further discussion?
Yeah, if I may. So there, you said it's in the maintenance fund to cover this? There's.
Yep.
Okay, how much is in that maintenance fund?
It's
Is it-
about, just a little under 18,000.
Oh, perfect, okay, so they
Yeah, so there'll be
potentially have
plenty,
room
yep,
for
and
more
then,
if they needed it. They're not
Right.
using the whole thing up, all right,
yeah, and then tree spraying will probably be done again
Yep,
then, like in
perfect.
2 years.
Great.
Yeah, I don't want to do anything extra assessment-wise since they're already doing the maintenance fund.
Right, right.
All right. So I got to do, okay, motion second. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Carried. Thank you, Nancy.
Thank you.
Yep. Administration. The
Thank you, Mr.
wall.
Chair. This morning I have a board action for the Minnesota Historical Society Rock Wall Grant, and it's to approve a change in the amount of funds requested. So the background is a pre-application has been submitted to the Minnesota Historical Society with a request for grant funds to assist in repairs and restoration of the historic rock wall. Feedback from the reviewer has been received with a suggestion to lower the amount of requested funds from the Minnesota Historical Society in an effort to strengthen the final application. This was discussed with Facilities Committee, and the recommendation is to lower the request grant amount from Minnesota Historical Society to $395,000. So the options are to resubmit the pre-application with the recommended change of $395,000 in requested Minnesota Historical Society grant funds instead of the previously submitted request of $404,460, or to remain at the $404,460 as initially approved by the board. And the recommendation is to make the change to the $395,000.
All right. You've heard the request. Is there a motion?
I will make that motion, and just to let everybody know that we did have this discussion at a facility meeting, but at the facility meeting, all of the finance members were present also, so
Yep.
we only had it at the facility meeting, but the group was all present at the time when this discussion was had. So, hopefully, they will accept our bid this time,
Yeah.
this go around.
If not, we'll
Been a
go.
long procedure.
Okay, is there a second to that?
I'll second it.
Second by Danny. Further discussion? If none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. Finance Committee.
2024 preliminary levy is to be presented to you today. The background is the Finance Committee worked diligently with all county departments to prepare a preliminary budget and a preliminary levy recommendation to the county board. At the August 15, 2023 work session, the Finance Committee presented a proposal for the 2024 preliminary budget and the 2024 preliminary levy. Your options are, number one, to approve the preliminary levy with a 3.88 increase, or do not approve, and the recommendation is to approve the attached resolution to set the preliminary 2024 levy at $20,021,195, less program aids of $2,090,297, therefore certifying the 2024 preliminary levy, local levy, at $17,930,898, which comes out to be the 3.88%. Just a little more history on that. We did start out in June at our levy percentage being 9.79. So through the summer months, the committee with all the department heads worked diligently and brought that number down to the 3.88. So we're happy to present that today as our preliminary.
Heard your request. Is there a motion?
I'll make that motion to set the levy at 3.88% increase.
Okay. Do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Second by Danny. Discussion? Okay, once we set this, we can always go down. Cannot go up above that. So according to the state, we can work, reduce it a little bit more if we got lucky. But, so you guys understand that. So, I want to thank all the department heads, budget committee and everybody for working to get it down this way. I've talked to a couple other counties, and they're in double digits. So, with that, we have a motion and a second. All in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Carried. Thank you.
The last item I have then is to set the truth and taxation hearing date. Background, Minnesota Statute 275.065 requires Todd County to hold a truth in taxation hearing to receive public input regarding the proposed 2024 preliminary levy before its final adoption in December of 2023. And to set this date, I would need a date. I'm looking preferably the last week in November. That allows time for the preparation of the T&T tax statements to be sent out. We like to get them out like the Wednesday before Thanksgiving weekend. But in the past years, we've kind of gone into December. That gets very stressful because you guys are gone to AMC the first week. Then the second week is we try to have a board meeting right away. We have auditors in, we have year-end prep. There's a lot going on in December. So my initial date I was looking at was the November 27th through the 30th, any of those evenings. It does have to start at 6 p.m. So if you check your calendars and pick a date, that would be great.
What's the wishes? I'm thinking 28th.
Let's do a Tuesday night.
I'm fine.
Okay.
I'm fine with that.
Yeah.
28th?
6 p.m. on the 28th?
Yep.
Yep.
Yeah, that looks fair to me.
Oh, we all agreed on one.
That's spot on.
So the recommendation will be to set the
Yay!
truth and taxation hearing for November 28th at 6 p.m. in the Todd County Commissioners Boardroom.
Okay, do we have a motion for that?
I'll motion for that, that we do it the November 28th at 6 p.m.
Okay, motion by Noska, is there a second?
I'll second.
Second by Denny. Any further discussion? If none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Carried, thank you. All righty. We're down to standing reports. Auditor treasurer.
I have nothing today. Everything is business as usual.
Okay, let's see, county attorney's absent today. Commissioners, Commissioner Denny?
Pretty low key for me, besides that Long Hagen's Lake pontoon ride, last week, which was good to get a good eyes on that project to better understand that. Prairie Lakes, Prairie Lakes, board, we met again at 10, and, it was actually like a 2-hour meeting. There's a lot to cover there. There's more information coming next month on that, be to the board. But other than that, it's been pretty boring. So I'm waiting for a storm brewing here this week. So that's all I have today.
All right, Commissioner Becker.
We had the county picnic, which was well attended and well received, I believe. Also had a wellness meeting, Region 5, at Region 5. There's this state community energy program that they're really putting a lot of material out on. This property assessed clean energy program. It's called the PACE model. I got the information here if anybody would like to see it. We had a facility meeting, personnel meeting. We also had Rainbow Rider, and they are have processing on their new bus garage, which will be built in Alexandria, so moving ahead with that. The other thing is, had a contact from Lake Shamana that there will be a meeting over there tomorrow. Yeah, Wednesday, I believe it's at 1 o'clock. Also found out that their project went out for bids, I believe. Awarded for bids? Okay. Yeah, and so at what point were they supposed to pay Todd County, Nancy?
That was, the wording on the resolution was when the project was awarded.
So they should be paying us, correct?
Mr. Chair, if I could, please excuse me, Denise. I did have the Morrison County Administrator reach out to me yesterday to have a conversation regarding that payment.
And I also had the county auditor treasurer, I met with her Wednesday in person, and Friday she sent me an email saying that the county engineer is holding off making that payment. I have the email with me. I don't know what the holdup is. Her email said on Friday, I heard back from the county engineer, and it sounds there could be some delay in the project moving forward, so he wants to wait to remit payment until things get worked out. That will be after the pre-construction meeting on the 6th. So I don't know what's going on. Maybe that's why the administrator reached out to her yesterday. This is what I got Friday.
Interesting.
Interesting. Maybe we should have John look into that,
Into that agreement?
because it was an agreement that,
Yes, and
They
this does
made with
affect-
us.
We did pull our special assessments, which we'll be showing at the work session for that ditch, because we didn't want to double tax the taxpayers. Why put a special assessment? Because we knew this 200,000 would be coming to us. So we've now taken that off, and if we're not gonna have that money, I mean, not that it was a lot, but we kind of did that working together as the ditch authority, Nancy and I, that we weren't going to levy those taxpayers on that ditch because we were anticipating this payment. Something to think about.
yeah.
Right.
And that's all I have to report then, because that's coming up tomorrow, so.
Commissioner Naska.
Yeah, so adding on to that now, so do we have any legal weight as to that they cannot start the project till we get paid? You know, is there any way we hold that, at least they can't come into Todd County until it gets paid?
There's two different payments.
Okay.
Outlet fee,
Yep, right.
and then there's this money that Morrison County, we did not ask for. They
Oh.
voluntarily said they would give it to us when the project was awarded.
Okay.
And if you read the wording of the resolution, said it was because of all those road problems they were having, and they would have spent that much on the road problems. They felt that this Chaminade project would fix their road problems, which is why they gave that dollar amount.
Okay.
They said they would give that dollar amount. So the outlet fee, which is what you're referring to, was to be paid, at least 10 days before they start pumping.
Yeah.
So that has not happened yet.
So only before they start pumping, not before they start construction,
Right.
okay.
So 10 days before they start pumping.
Okay.
But the other one was supposed to be awarded at the time the contract
Right.
was
But
signed.
So-
that was a Morrison County thing, not a Lake Chaminade thing.
Okay.
So,
But-
excuse me, do we want to add this to the work session because this was not on our agenda?
No, I brought it up under mine.
Yeah.
But I don't know if we're
That's all.
at that point, you know, other than we'll be attending that meeting
No.
tomorrow.
So, and I talked to Michael Pat from Houston about tomorrow's meeting, and he said that all it is just dealing with road authorities about, stuff that's going on in Morrison County. None of it's gonna be related at all to the connection to 41, so I was not gonna go to that meeting at all, because he said they weren't gonna be talking about ditch 41
Okay.
at all in that meeting tomorrow.
Go ahead. Anything else, Commissioner Naska?
Guess I don't have anything to add anymore, if that's where
Nope.
we're standing.
Any more on your report?
Oh, my report?
Yeah.
We were still on Barb's report, weren't we?
I said I was done.
Oh, okay, good. All right, well, yeah, the Long Higgins tour with Tim and their lake association and Chris, that was it was good to see it from the water side as well. Other than that, not a lot new, other than we're trying to, we updated some bylaws and policy at TRICAP, and then we've got the HRA, we're still looking to fill 2 seats for commissioners for the Housing and Redevelopment Authority. We're looking into seeing how we can work this in, so I could potentially fill one of those seats if
You
it,
can't if you're an employee of the county. That's why the last person couldn't. correct?
understandable. I believe there's other counties that may possibly be doing that.
So, Mr. Chair, Commissioner Becker, if I could clarify, so
Yeah.
Commissioner Naska wouldn't be an employee of the county, he'd be that public officer? So that's, within that oath, there's a public officer or an employee. So that's what he would fall under. Lou has been kind of reaching out back and forth, and we've seen that LeSueur County, not that they've done everything 100% correct, I would hope they have, but just as an example, they allow their county commissioner through their bylaws to actually be a voting member on there. So the next step would be to check with county attorney and just see if that's something that they'd want to entertain.
Other than that, nothing. Nothing else.
Anything else?
Good.
Oh, okay. On the 15th, I had the Sauk River Watershed meeting. 16th was the picnic. Then I had Park Board. Thursday, we had the insurance meeting on the 17th, and then one watershed, one plan in Sauk Center. They're bringing back the contract to they revised it because of the money. I guess Stearns County couldn't apply for other outside money without us revising it, and then, because they're the fiscal agent. So that'll be on the 19th work session, so we'll discuss that then. The opioid advisory council, there is a ton of money in that account. If you guys know anything that we can do with helping people out with that,
Yep, yep.
it'd be greatly appreciated.
Yep.
So just relay it to them and say, hey, if they got anything that they need funding for, submit the application. We'll review it and go from there.
Perfect.
Okay. On Thursday, 24th, we signed the purchase for the one home over across the street. On the 25th, we had facilities. Then on Monday, we had a special CPT meeting. Our director did resign. We did put intern in for now. On the 29th, we had personnel, and then Wednesday, I think we had Rainbow Rider looking at the new facility. And it's just crazy how much stuff has really went up, and I don't know. But that's pretty much all I had. And coordinators report.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So just with this discussion we've had here this morning, I will be having a call with the Morrison County Administrator just to catch up and find out what's going on with the resolution and with the funds and all of those things, and I'll make sure I keep you updated. Just to kind of piggyback on the discussion regarding the opioid funds, we did bring forward the education piece that Commissioner Denny had mentioned. So thank you for that, and hopefully we'll be doing something with educating our youth, doing some school education with those funds. A lot of the same meetings that you've mentioned I attended through the course of the last 3 weeks. It's been quite a busy number of weeks. I did attend the AMC Cybersecurity Task Force meeting last week, and that is something that you will be hearing about at the Fall Policy Conference. They're going to talk about kind of where we're at with cybersecurity and what counties should be preparing for. So that's going to be something that's discussed. Had some broadband coalition meetings. We'll hear about that progress at the work session, and had a child care meeting for Long Prairie as well. So it's been a busy couple of weeks.
All right, is there anything else that needs to come in front of this board at this time? If not, we will recess to September 19th. Okay, and we'll start the work session at quarter after.
To be appointed to that board, I think it would be very good. She's from
Welcome to the Tuesday, September 5th, 2023, Todd County Board of Commissioners Work Session. Starting out today on the agenda, we have ditch maintenance proposed assessments discussion. Nancy. Come on down.
Okay, so I will tell you what the bills were for.
Sure.
Okay. All right, so, on ditch 3, that's ditch inspector fees for a hold harmless agreement that was coming through. Ditch 4, dam removal and beaver expenses, and we included anticipated expenses because the beaver are chronic in that area. Ditch 19 is their maintenance fund, so that's the amount that gets put in there every year. Ditch 20 is beaver, and they always have chronic beaver in their Rice Lake area, so we're constantly trapping there. Ditch 21 always has beaver issues, so we figured we'd keep a little bit of a cushion in there for the next ones we know are coming, same deal. Great habitat for beaver. Ditch 32 is also beaver, and dam removal on that one. Ditch 20, the dam removal, the landowners take care of, which is why there's never dam removal on there, so. Actually, no, they take care of the beaver trapping, which is why there's never trapping expenses, but there is dam removal expenses. Ditch 34, that was also beaver dam removal and beaver trapping. Ditch 35 was cleaning up ditch inspector hours from previous years. There's not any projects or other issues on that ditch. Ditch 36 is always beaver. It's up on a state land area that it runs through. Ditch 40 is ditch inspector fees for the upcoming project that's being looked at. Ditch 42 is the tile repair project. We figured we might as well assess ahead a little bit on that because there's probably going to be expenses for that coming up. Ditch 44, that was dam removal and beaver trapping. And ditch 46 was also beaver trapping. So, and then ditch 18, if you guys want to.
And so did County Ditch 18, as it states, there is a loan that was approved in December of 2017 by the county board, transferring $300,000 from the general fund to cover the expenses incurred for this project, and we will continue to make assessment payments until that is paid in full. So they have always ongoing assessments, and what we're talking about here is special assessments that we add to their taxes. So we sit down as a group, Jolene, myself, and Nancy, the ditch inspector, and we analyze how many parcels and taxpayers and what her bills are. And so we come up with a strategic plan so these people don't get hit. You know, if we don't do something and be proactive, we've had cases where we've been deficient and then they get hit with a large assessment and they're not very happy. So we're being proactive. The county board adopted a unique payback term on this resolution in 18 for the size of the project, and beginning in taxes payable in 19, the entire amount of the expenses with a 10-year repayment plan at 2%. And that 2% is set by state. So, you know, it's doable for the taxpayer, and we did a 10-year repayment plan, so they're not, like, again, hit with a large payment on top of their taxes that they're already paying. The first principal payment of $70,441.51 was approved by the county board in December of 19 for the transfer to the county ditch fund to general fund. And the second principal payment of $33,833.84 was approved in December of 2020. And these are just telling you the transactions we've made on this ditch. So we're slowly, third payment, fourth payment. So as of 12/30/2022, the amount due back is $155,166.83. Amount collected so far this year in taxes is $568.42 with 6 months of taxes remaining. So that gives you a little history on that. Well, that's probably your other thing. I don't know if you want to go to that. So this is just what we're telling you. We sit down, we analyze, we come up with projections that we're going to put on their taxes. This chart also tells you if it's included prior expenses, yes or no, and if it's including anticipated expenses. I can't talk today. Do you have anything else that we can add to that, other than we'll be bringing it forward to pass?
Yeah.
So that we can get it on the tax rolls when I start the tax process.
Yeah, and I should also add that some of that all of those that are beaver expenses are also my ditch inspector time added in there for coordinating the trapping, coordinating the dam removal, all of that stuff. So, and beaver are pretty predictable, so it's pretty easy to forecast ahead what ditches are still gonna be a problem, because they're chronic areas.
So that's what we have for assessments that will be applying to the taxpayers
Okay.
of those county ditches.
So I got a question. So in the last, say, 10 years, beaver have gotten to be a bigger issue, correct?
It's starting to wane, because there's some ditches that we've trapped yearly, like year-round, that
Yeah.
are finally starting to decrease in the amount of time that we have to trap. Ditch 20 is one of them. We're finally kind of getting ahead of that. Ditch 41 was another one we trap year-round. So it's starting to slow down. These just drought times kind of slow down their activity, because they just don't have anything to
Damn up.
dam up. So,
And what are we paying per beaver?
$100 per beaver, which we up from 50 just this past,
Yep.
probably last fall. I don't remember the exact date, but it's $100 per beaver.
All right.
And then we're doing dam removal. Phil Miller actually was nice enough, a great guy, to train in somebody else to take over. So Todd Carey is doing the dam removal now. He's local, because the guy I was having previously was coming all the way up from Zimmerman. And so Todd Carey's doing the dam removal. He's local. He does a great job. He's great to work with, so.
So are they using explosives yet to do
Yes.
that?
Yep.
Cool.
Yep. And I actually had someone from the DNR admit that it's much less damage to the environment doing it with explosives than it is doing backhoe. Because originally they said you can't control where the spoil goes with explosives.
Yep.
And they were concerned about that, but the damage you do getting to it with the backhoe compared to just driving up to it with an Argo you can't even compare the two, so.
Okay.
It's much more environmentally friendly.
Okay, nice. Okay. Any other questions? Nope. Good, thank you.
Yep. On to the next.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so ditch 40, there's been a request for maintenance. I brought this to the work session in, July 5th, brought it to a work session and showed you some of the stuff. So lateral 2 and lateral 3 are the areas requesting to be cleaned. Last time I explained to you about that really deep section of lateral 2, which, I'm not recommending we clean that section, just because it would be, the cost to clean it because of how deep it is, would not be worth the benefit, and I feel there's gonna be enough drainage there because of the drop from where the deep section starts to the outlet of the river. Outlet into the river is a steep drop. So lateral 2, will only be 2,130 feet of lateral 2 that'll be cleaned. We're gonna clean up to where the steep part of the ditch starts, and then stop in the really deep section, and then the last about 50, on aerial photos, it looks like about 50 feet, but 50 to 75 feet where it levels out again. There are no trees, we can get to it easily with the backhoe. Clean that section so that there's a good outlet then into the river for the lateral. So you can see in black, the top black line is lateral 2, the bottom black line is lateral 3. Lateral 3 is gonna be pretty straightforward. It's a level ditch. The only issue with lateral 3 is that it's got a power line up, down the center of the ditch, and it's got the buffalo fencing. So we're gonna have to, get a little creative with cleaning because of the fencing. I have to contact the power company yet and ask them, kinda, I don't know why they put power lines right down, seriously, right down the center of the ditch. But we're gonna have to figure out what's gonna still convey water and what's gonna protect their power poles. So we have to deal with that yet with the, power company. That's Minnesota Power that I gotta get hold of. And then, so that lateral is pretty straightforward. So lateral 2, the pictures here, it's shallow on the end that's closest to 350th Street. I think that's 350th. I'll have to look. But the township road, it's shallow at that end, but that end also has a lot of large trees. He can chip up to a certain amount of trees, but once they get to a size he can't chip any longer, they'll cut them down with chainsaws and with the nippers on the skid loader. So the trees themselves are both in the bottom of the ditch and in the inslope and on the top banks. So we're gonna have to clean trees on both sides of the ditch, just because if we clean only the spoil side and the bottom and then the the back slope of the other side, we might as well just do them all because they're all leaning into the ditch line. So the plan is to remove all the trees. None of the landowners there want the trees, none of them burn. They're just kind of Bamba, what's the name of that tree? Bombagadillia or something like that. They're junk wood, they're not hardwood, they're hardly worth burning. So anyway, so the plan is to pile them, chip as much as we can chip and get that into the spoil pile, cut the large trees, pile them, and then burn them. The contractor's gonna burn them, and then dig a hole and bury them. And we will have to deal with, there are some soil types there that we will be able to bury in. I just gotta get permission or an exemption from Soil and Water to do that burying of them, whatever's left of what we can't burn. So lateral 2 is gonna be the more expensive one because of the amount of trees, the amount of chainsaw work that's gonna be needed. So that section on the contractor bid, he gave me 2 different line items. One is for lateral 3, which is just basically brushing, chipping the brush, cleaning and leveling the spoil. That was at $250 per foot. So that's $6,067.50. Excuse me. And then lateral 2, that 2130 feet, cut and pile the trees, brush cleaning and leveling the spoil. He did that at $350 per foot because of the amount of trees that's there. So that's $7,455. And then to take the trees from that lateral 2, pile them, burn them, come back, and whatever he's gonna have to do, it's gonna be time consuming to get them burned down. Plus, we probably don't want to do that while we're in a drought, so he's gonna have to come back to do the time frame to burn those and bury them. So the amount that he added onto that for the burning and the burying was $2,500. So that could be less if we end up having it less time consuming than what we're anticipating it's gonna be. I did include an assessment roll spreadsheet example, so you can see what a $16,022.50 project would look like for those landowners. There's a couple of landowners that own several properties, so their assessment amount is gonna be much larger than others. So if you looked at that spreadsheet, you can see. So what we basically have to decide is if you want to have a hearing, to have it, all the landowners present before you make the decision on it, or if you want to do it you can order it as a minor maintenance since it is under the dollar amount allowed to do that. So I just need direction on if you want to do this as a meeting or if you want to do it as just a minor maintenance that you can order. And like I said last time, just ditch 42, just the attorney fees and what went into that meeting, it was about $2,000 worth of attorney fees. So,
Mr. Chair, if I could. Nancy, all the ditch cleaning is bid per foot, correct?
yes,
So that price won't change at all because the feet don't.
right, correct.
So the
Yep.
only thing that could possibly change would be the burning or the piling of the trees. And that
Correct.
was just a lump sum figure.
Yep.
And then you would have to add 2,000 onto that if we have a meeting of the landowners.
If we end up having meetings, so it would depend on if you did an informational meeting first and then a hearing, that would be, or I know this for ditch 42, when I talked last time to Cale Van Bruggen, we had that informational meeting, and then if you wanted to order a project later, just in a board meeting, you could order it without having to have another hearing. So that would save costs on attorney fees that way. So, you could do an info meeting and then order it at a board meeting rather than having to have two meetings with attorney fees.
Or it's small enough that we wouldn't have to have,
Correct. This is
Any
under,
meeting.
right,
okay.
correct. I believe now they've upped it over the years. It's a $175,000 project that you can order without having to have hearings.
The last time this ditch was touched was 49, 50 years ago. Was-
Yeah, that would have been that
73,
72,
74, yeah.
74 era when they had the horrible flood and they basically fixed everything then at that time for and that's where these deep ditches came from too, is from that
Okay.
flood.
So then hopefully the power company will figure out what they want to do with their poles and,
Yeah, and seriously, they're like right down, and they're in good shape, so it's not like they're gonna be replacing them anytime soon,
okay.
so. Yeah, the fence isn't gonna be as big of an issue as the power pole will,
Right,
because the fence, we're just gonna, we gotta make sure we save the integrity of the fence so that it's not gonna, fall into the ditch or whatever, but the power poles will be a little more difficult.
okay.
Hmm.
Alrighty. Well, keep us posted, and I think, we'll probably have to do a, meeting.
So do you wanna do it as a info meeting?
Oh, I'd do it informational, I think.
Okay.
Kind of consensus, yeah.
Okay, so then I'll set up that meeting then.
Mhm.
All right.
Okay,
Okay, thank you.
thanks. Health and Human Services.
Morning.
Morning.
Tim's got some
Thank you.
handouts.
Thank you.
Thank you.
So we are here in front of you at work session today to talk about possibly changing the title of Kim's position on her job description to really match the services that she provides in her unit at Health and Human Services. With the addition of the Child Services Manager and Supervisor position, we felt it would be best fit if we adjust the title of Kim's unit to Adult Services versus Health Services. That unit really encompassed children, adults, home care. So we did update the job description, and we've printed them out for you. Minor changes, just basically going from Adult Services Manager, going from Health Services Managers to Adult, and then same with the Supervisor. There's two different positions. There's a waiver supervisor and a behavioral health. Changing that, similar to our other units, as being Adult Services Supervisors to help cover one another versus really separating them out by programs. Like I said, very minor changes. We would like to bring that to board at the next board meeting if you're okay with that, and just, like I said, removing the programs and make it more basic. We did provide a org chart here for you that will probably need to be updated. Again, just indicating where the change would be from the Health Services Manager to Adult Services, and then changing the Behavioral Health Supervisor and Waiver Supervisor to Adult Services Manager, or Supervisors. Anything I missed, Kim?
Nope, we just think it'll provide consistency with how the rest of our org structure is.
Mr. Chair, if I could, Jackie, in the two job descriptions you have, you've got them at different pay grades. Is that,
With the
Correct.
manager is a different one higher than the supervisor.
okay. Okay, I see this is the manager, and this is the supervisor. Gotcha.
And the only question I would have would be if everybody is happy with the wording on this, because when we do the comp study, these will probably go out to them, so everybody's gonna be on this. Okay,
I believe so.
Yeah, I think so, and it's kind of nice that we're doing it now to prepare for that as well, but it creates consistency with both of the descriptions,
okay,
so they're
so
better aligned.
all the job duties for the manager and the supervisor will be, they're ready to go.
Yep.
Exactly.
Got it, thank you.
Mr. Chair, if I could maybe just add a little bit to that. Jackie had met with Personnel Committee just to talk through these job description changes. And if there are very minor changes to the job description, that typically would not come before the board. Minor changes that don't really affect the step. So, but this, because it is a title change, and in order for us to track that title change through your board process, that's why it's coming here and then to board next.
Thank you, Chris.
Mhm. Any other questions?
Nope.
Nope. See it at the next board meeting.
All right, thank you.
Good,
Thanks.
thank you.
Adam. I'm not gonna run on this one.
Good morning again. What you have on the screen and maybe in front of you is the Sauk River Watershed Collaborative Fiscal Agent Agreement. Stearns County currently serves as the fiscal agent for the Sauk River Comprehensive Watershed Plan with the funding that's coming in. There were some changes that needed to happen here because this was specifically drafted so that Stearns County would handle the watershed-based implementation funds. Well, there's been another, I think there's gonna be more, but right now there's this CRP opportunity, and Stearns County was concerned that language was so narrow of what the services they could provide to the group, so they agreed to just amend the agreement here to include other funding opportunities that may come to the watershed. Initially, with the original fiscal agent agreement, the county did not sign on. Actually, only Soil and Waters and the watershed district signed on. There's not a lot of projects or different types of things that the county would access money for. But with this one, they're encouraging counties, if interested, to sign on this time around. Doesn't mean that we would get any funding or necessarily have to be involved, but at least if an opportunity came up, we're a part of it. So that's why in talking with Commissioner Newman, thought we'd discuss it here this morning, and I can bring it to the next meeting to formally adopt it, but wanted to answer any questions and give some background first.
So are the other One Watershed, One plans gonna also see this change? Are they like the Long
not-
Prairie?
Not necessarily, because I think the structure's a little bit different. I'd have to compare them side by side to know. It may come up if the CRP or other similar funding opportunities start popping up elsewhere, but this is a pilot program from my understanding at the moment, and Sauk River was just selected as one of the watersheds that gets to run through the pilot with the initial round of funding.
Okay.
But again, we don't have to join into this, but the opportunity's there, and we're being encouraged by the rest of the partners in the watershed to do so. But it may be that we sign on and never accept any funding. Commissioner Newman serves on the policy committee, so still has a vote at the table whether we sign on to this or not.
Right. Okay. Any other questions?
Got a lot of questions.
Yeah, I do too.
Well, if you have questions, I can answer them now or before the next commissioners meeting.
Yeah, did you send us this?
Yeah, it was in the
It-
packet of stuff,
Oh, I didn't see it in the
work session
packet.
stuff, yep.
I gotta make sure it's in there. I just got, we'll visit about it, 'cause I gotta read it really.
Sure. Much of the language did not change. It was just a lot of the changes are to include, like, scratch out watershed-based implementation funding and make it more broad of what types of grants Stearns County would accept on behalf of the watershed.
So, I guess first thing goes to this Long Lake thing we're dealing with. Would this new writing affect what we're dealing with that?
I don't believe so, because this funding falls under a clean water grant guidance from Bowser, and the watershed-based implementation fund is not eligible for water quantity projects, only water quality projects.
Yeah, and I can't remember if I sent this to John or not.
I can send it to him again. He looked at this a long time ago and was firstly initially adopted because the Soil and Water obviously signed on to it, but we can have him glance at it once again before.
Just give,
2
yeah,
weeks from
because
now.
it's a
Yep.
lot of yellow in here.
So Soil and Water can sign on to it without the county signing on to it?
Right. They are a separate entity
Okay,
in the watershed, and they really are the ones accessing the funds to
That's
pay
correct.
for cost share projects.
that's
And that-
correct.
Right.
So if the county signs on to this, what can we do with it?
I'm unsure right now. That's why initially the counties didn't sign on to any of them. I don't think we've actually signed on to any of the watersheds when it comes to the fiscal stuff, just because there's not a lot of county-related projects and such that the county would accept funds on. Most of it, even if it was a county-related thing, the Soil and Water would probably be the fiscal agent for that. So that's why there wasn't a grand need, and I guess that's why we're here discussing it now is, it's the time to do it if we wanted to, but I don't think there's any penalty for us to not do it either. The opportunity is there if something were to come up. For instance, if we had septics we wanted to fund or something, but that's such a low priority that I don't think that would ever happen, at least not in the early stages of implementation here.
But the four of us sitting here are also the county ditch authority.
Yeah,
Sure.
Would that put us in this? Because we do spend funds.
Sure.
So
yeah.
That's
has
something
anybody ever brought that up that, you know, because the Sauk River watershed is in charge of Stearns County and part of Pope County's ditches. So where would that put us? Would we have that, as the four of us, would we have that power to accumulate funding because we're the ditch authority?
I'd have to get an answer to that. I don't know for sure. But if that came to be, we can sign on to this and at least this is in place. I guess I feel like we should sign it just simply because that if opportunities like that come up, we're not having to backtrack, sign on, do a bunch, and then move forward again.
Because we have some projects over on ditch 42, because Nancy had brought that up, which is a couple of lakes over there, smaller ones, but still, and DNR has a controlled structure over there on that. Why can't, as a ditch authority,
I think there's potential there. The funding for a project like that, if it was eligible, would be a years out though. We have currently the first 2 years, and then we're working on the work plan for the next biennium. And so those projects and all that money is essentially spent already, even though we don't even necessarily have it in hand yet. So it'd be potentially 2-3 years out before stuff like that would be on the docket. But I suppose the potential exists that if there was a project that met the requirements of the policy, the grant, and then it was in that work plan as a project that met the goals and priorities of the plan itself, there's potential that that funding could be accessed for that.
because Douglas County, their county board's also the ditch authority too.
Sure.
Interesting. Okay. Any questions? Hopefully we can get some answers by the.
Yeah, in 2 weeks, because we have to have this submitted by the 19th, I think, somewhere in there, but it was a few days after the next board meeting, so try to get answers between now and that meeting, and then, but we'll bring it back to the regular board agenda then.
But yeah, there's some interesting questions there, as if the ditch
Yep.
authorities,
Sure.
you know, Sauk River's using theirs as ditch authority, and if they can, why can't we?
Sure. Never hurts to ask the question.
Yeah.
So.
Okay.
All right, thank you.
Thanks. Okay, broadband. How are you, Rick?
May I switch it to these?
How you doing this morning?
Good.
Good morning.
Or
I would probably have Chris start on this because she has all the.
Yeah, so Commissioners, just kind of going over what Rick and I have been working on over the last couple of months, probably, I'm going to say 4 to 5 months. We have been meeting with our internet providers, the ones who provide fiber, and specifically focusing on those providers. And the map that I'm showing you right now is a map that was put out by the state of Minnesota deed office. And this map shows for Todd County what is considered served for internet, which is the green. Underserved would be the purple areas, and then unserved is the red areas. And this is a map that's been around for quite some time, so this shouldn't be something that is unfamiliar to you. But if we look at this, we can see that we have a considerable amount of area within Todd County that is underserved or unserved. So with meeting with the providers, we were able to kind of get a picture of where they are at today, how much of a fiber footprint they have, what they're currently working on, and what they're proposing to do. So with that, I'm going to move on to what we've collected from the providers. And I'm going to back this off a little bit. It gets a little bit busy. But each one of these colors represents a different provider for the most part. But if we look at this red area right here, this is the footprint of West Central Telephone. Okay, so they have this top portion of the county. That represents 329 wired locations and an additional 192 locations that they pass, but households haven't taken the service. So they serve a good portion of this area. 329 are taking their service, 192 are not. So that's West Central. With CTC, they are this yellow area. So they did a large project that, I mean, we're all familiar with. Commissioner Becker, this would be one kind of probably near and dear to you, but this is the Moran Township that CTC took care of all of that township, or most of it. And then they came around and came down to Browerville and then eventually to Long Prairie. So CTC right now covers, they service 1,100 locations. They could serve a total of 3,377 locations, but they have approximately 1,800 customers or 1,800 residents in Long Prairie who haven't taken their service. So they have a pretty big footprint, but we have people who aren't taking the service at this time. This area gets a little bit interesting when we look at this. This is Arvig currently, and when we look at this area, Arvig would have been considered an underserved area. So if we look at this right here and match it up to this area right here is being rebuilt with Arvig, and they are getting everybody who is in this underserved area to fiber. So they are doing some really great work in Todd County, getting all of these locations up to a fiber speed. So that would be, and I'm just going to give you some numbers so we kind of know what we're talking about, but the Eagle Bend City area, 353 structures are going to be fiber, and in the rural areas, 283 structures. Those are being worked on right now. So they hope to finish those by the end of 2023, but more than likely that's going to continue into next year. The city of Gray Eagle, if we kind of scoot down to this lower area here, the city of Gray Eagle has 174 structures planned and 114 rural structures for this construction season. In Bertha, I'm going to pop back up here. In Bertha and Hewitt, the rural areas, 888 structures planned. Clarissa has 121 structures in the rural areas, and those are to be built in the next 2 to 3 years. So 2 to 3 years kind of sounds like it's a way out there, but this is really great news to see that these underserved areas are going to now be served with fiber in the coming years. If we go down to this green area right here, this is an area that SciTech is now building out. So SciTech has kind of a strip alongside just on the county line, and they also have this green area here. That is all fiber. Most of this is in the Reconnect 3 program. They were awarded the Reconnect 3 through the USDA program, and they're building this out. They have They have 53 customers who have signed up in this area, but they have an additional 177 who have not yet signed up. So they're building it, and today, if you take that service, there is no cost to get that to your home. But if you wait until after this area is built, they'll bill you by the foot. So people have been encouraged to get that at least built, even if they're, just not going to take the service at this time, get it built. This purple area, if we look back, just to reference this unserved map, and we look at kind of this red area right in here, when we met with SciTech, they were one of the providers that gave us their proposed projects. So that was really great for them to just give up that information to us. And this is an area that they would like to apply for grants. And this area covers about 900 potential households. So that would be great if SciTech was awarded that. They have tried for this location. They tried with the Reconnect 4 grant, I believe, and they did not get that. They also tried for this same area with the Minnesota border to border, and they didn't get awarded that either. So they're going to try again. They're not going to give up on these locations. But another thing that we have heard is that Arvig as well is looking at some areas around Round Prairie. So that's great news, and it's great when we have providers trying to get some additional coverage. So I can show you that area as well. So this is a little bit of a messy kind of a map, but if we look at the blue area, this is blue, it looks a little green. The blue areas are the proposed fiber network for Arvig. So that's what they're building out, what we just kind of talked about. But if I zoom this out a little bit and we look at those red lines, the red is existing fiber that Arvig has. So you can kind of see as we go down here and kind of around this area, they do have at least a fiber footprint there, and that's why they're kind of interested in that location. So you will probably be seeing an article in the paper regarding Arvig and what their expansions are. They're really promoting that, and that's great to hear. So when we look at these areas and we compare this to that initial map from 2022, it's great to see the providers expanding and improving the internet in these areas, the fiber network. It would be great to see more of these areas covered. Just to kind of look at this footprint here, I'd like to compare it to this exchange boundary. So if I click here, that matches up with this red area, and this red area is a CenturyLink area. So if we look at providers crossing over lines or going into other territories, this whole area here is where we see a lot of these white spaces here. We have reached out to CenturyLink. I've reached out to them. I have not heard a response back from them yet. So just to understand what are their future plans for internet, for fiber within the county, I'm going to keep pushing. But I think what we see here, just like SciTech and very similar to Arvig, we'll see other providers maybe in this space if CenturyLink is not looking to provide fiber.
So Chris, that explains when COVID hit why I was getting calls in Reynolds, and I know Commissioner Erickson was also getting calls out of Reynolds going, they had no reception, it was just crap.
Yeah, so what you will see in this area, the red areas on this unserved, that's internet that is less than 25 meg by 3 meg. So 25 up, 3 down. So that on that unserved map, all of that is less than 25 meg. So if you think about students at home, you think about maybe parents being at home and they're all competing for internet that just isn't there. It was a struggle, and it continues to be a struggle. So these areas, even though CenturyLink, they have DSL, so they're getting something. They could be. The other thing they might be using is Starlink. They might be using mobile hotspots. So those are some different, and some fixed wireless in this area. But again, it's really slow.
But it's interesting that Lake Osakis, and then you just go across the road to Little Lake Osakis, that's CenturyLink. So Arvig is, I mean, you can hit a golf ball from, well, Head of Lakes into Little Lake Osakis, and they don't have any fiber, I mean, in the ground, but it's just,
Yeah, so go ahead, I'm sorry.
I didn't realize how CenturyLink went all the way across the county,
Yeah,
which
if
it
we
does.
look
It goes all the way across northern part of, it's got Berlin and the northern part of Leslie.
Yep, that's all CenturyLink.
way
This
across.
is the telephone exchange. Yep.
Wow.
So, I mean, it's good information for us to have and to try to understand, like, why have we had such a struggle? This does help us understand why it's been a struggle. But the good thing is we do have internet providers who are trying really hard to go after these grants. So with the BEAD funding that Minnesota has, and I think Minnesota has $650 million in BEAD funding, those grants are going to be opening up soon. So providers, from the work that we've done with them, they're excited to take advantage of that funding, apply as much as they possibly can. When we met with the providers, we talked about some of the things that we could do as a county to help them out. And specifically, it was asked, would it be helpful if we gathered more data for you? Would it be helpful if we did a countywide survey, and what should that look like? And the response that we received from a couple of the vendors was the area that they really would like help in, they really would like those letters of support. They appreciate that. They appreciate them from the county and from the townships. They also really need to tell the story. So having letters from the specific residents on how terrible it's been to either work from home or to have kids at home trying to do schoolwork, getting letters from the schools. And those are all things that we can do to help them out.
Chris, did you talk to CTC at all?
Yes.
And what other, I mean, they've come all the way down to Barb, all the way down to Long Prairie, and there's that whole area. Are they looking at doing more work or not? And I also see that line between Arvik and CTC, and those are the people that CTC would have picked up, and Arvik wouldn't let them, or however it went, but those are the ones that border that Moran Township that never got the internet.
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
they
go ahead, Rick.
Yeah.
won't go into general agreement, they won't go into their other opponents'
Yeah.
territories like that. That line going up from Long Prairie and then cutting off to the east,
Yeah.
that is actually redundancy line that was put in by CTC.
Yep.
And we helped finance part of that, and it was short-term. But what it did, it gave a redundancy line here for Long Prairie where there would be no outage and stuff. But they did put internet service in Browerville for the commercial, in the city end of it, but not the residential, because of course Browerville had a lot of issues too with the streets assessments and everything else, so they don't want to tax the people by making them, pay to put in some of the infrastructure. But it goes up to Coal Lake, I think, on the going east out of Browerville.
So like your Ward Township and Turtle Creek, would CTC ever come into that area then?
So
I
when
mean,
we
is there any conversation?
When we met with CTC, they did not have any plans on their own to go into those areas. They were certainly interested in doing a partnership if the county was interested, but they did not have plans at this time to cover that area. With all this funding that's coming out and has been out, we are going to continue, I will continue to reach out to those providers and make sure Rick is involved as well, because it would be great for us to hear of movement in those areas. Some of these broadband grants that are available, if you are in a low density area, so a very, very rural area, those grants are up to 75% covered. So those are really, really good grants to take advantage of.
Yeah, Because I know Arvik is digging, west of Bertha and Eagle Bend area, they're putting line in right now.
Yeah, and this blue area, this is all the proposed fiber for Arvig at this time. And they do have projects that are in the works, and they're just not at this point willing to share those. And one of the reasons they said they're not willing to share them, it's not so much, it is a competition thing, but it's more so when they share these things with the public gets really excited. And then they're calling and asking, when is the service going to be available? So they don't like to get too ahead of themselves with sharing that information.
Okay. Any other companies interested in going, if CTC wouldn't be interested with the Ward and the Turtle Creek areas, any other company that shows interest or not? They're just kind of in nowhere.
Well, they are, but I think with this funding that is out there, I think we're going to see movement from other providers. I really do.
You think any new providers will come? You think the existing providers will close the gap?
I think existing providers over time will close that gap. That would be the hope. And we are going to continue to meet with the providers and find out, like, where are their next areas that, if they're willing to share those projects, where are they going to be?
Okay.
But in the meantime, we know what the providers need. The providers want letters of support. They want those stories from people. So we're going to work on how do we gain those stories, easy enough to get them from the schools. If there are specific focus areas, a suggestion might be to pull that specific township. Like maybe we reach out to Round Prairie and do a mailing to the residents specifically for there.
I know when we did Moran, and Rick is the one that came up and really, Dan and I went out and did that proposed letter, but asked them to do it in their own handwriting, and we did the test, and we couldn't complete the test because we didn't have enough service to complete the test.
Right.
And I think those are the things that they wanted to see or needed to see.
I think that was kind of a unique project. It was 85% matching grant, which
Yeah.
you don't see too often. But it was I think we received close to 30 letters from the public, which was great. And one lady actually had a handwritten letter.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was Jean Dom, yeah.
So another thing that we have that I'm working with the Broadband Coalition on, when they did their survey, they did get 600 responses. And with those responses, they had stories attached to them. So I'm
Okay.
working with Ben Winchester to see if I can get, just trying to keep things anonymous, but to get like just their stories without an address point, but maybe for a township. So Ben is working with me to get that information.
It would be really good if you could get it and they would agree to leave their name and address on that letter, because then it means a location on this map where they're not receiving service.
Mhm.
Yeah.
But in the meantime, some other things that just the general public can do, there is the USAC Affordable Connectivity Program. So that allows people who are income eligible, and if you're on a type of a federal or state program, you can get your internet at a $30 discount. So those are some things that if you're not getting internet at home, if the reason is the financial reason, this might be a way to help. And the other part that the public can take part in is the line extension program. So every 6 months, the state reevaluates who has submitted to be on the line extension program. And what that is you as a citizen can apply. If you're in an area where you feel you're really close to a provider, but you're just on the edge
Yeah.
of them, you can apply for this line extension program, and it's a reverse auction. And if your submission is awarded, they will contact that closest provider, and they will give that provider $25,000 to connect you. And the provider can say, yep, I can do it within that financial parameter, or it's just not feasible. So the provider will make that decision. But that's another avenue for people to take as they wait for broadband to be built. So. But I think we had really good discussions with the providers. They appreciated the conversation. I had Arvig reach out to me last week. They were looking for some, just to see what kind of partnership could we have at this time with them financially. I did let them know that we have a lot of projects that at this time are really kind of tying us to our dollars, and let them know that we could help support them potentially through our $5,000, to help boost their applications, and we'll just see how we can help them that way.
Just to encourage them to do that application, that the money is out there.
Yes.
I'm just shocked at the Highway 71 corridor that you don't see that string going all the way from
Of Sauk
Stearns
Center,
County,
yeah.
Stearns County line, all the way up into Long Prairie, because look at the number of businesses that we have on that
71,
corridor, yeah. And I mean, and the businesses we have just off of Highway 71. On County Road 2, I can name a couple. I mean, it's, you look at it and just go, wow.
Mm-hmm.
So Rick, can I ask a question? When you spoke about Burville City and that yellow truck coming in,
Right.
was that just for businesses in Burville City? Residential people couldn't get the?
Well, at the time CTC did that redundancy line, and they, we talked to them about participating with CTC at that time. Well, the businesses, the commercial business in the city took advantage of it, but CTC would need buy-in from the city, assistance to do do fiber in the entire city. And at that time, there were middle street assessments and everything else, so quite a burden to the taxpayers to do that.
But the thing with Barville, if you got these housing additions that not,
That's why I'm asking, because at Hartford, a mile from Burville,
Yeah.
they were digging, and I asked, can you come down? I called them. I mean, it had been only like less than a quarter of a mile down the
Yeah.
road, down Kildare Drive, and we all want it down our street. And the gentleman said, no, we can't go down there. And I'm
See,
like,
that's the
"But
way they were-
I can see your truck. I can see you digging
yeah.
in my neighbor's ditch to get to Burville City."
That would be a great submission for the line extension program.
Perfect.
Yeah, actually, that one would be big, because they would be a good incentive for any company that could run there. You'd
Well,
get a
yeah.
pile of residences.
Is that information available on our website?
We are going to promote this through our Facebook page. We'll put it out on the website. Yep.
Yeah.
Get it out as many ways as
And
we can.
if we get the public wanting to get out there, that they're wanting this to come in, and they know that they're going to take the internet, I think that's part of the problem in the rural area, is there's so many people that didn't take it when it went past there. It'd be interesting to follow up now if a lot of those people didn't go back and have it brought in now. Because I know from up in Moran, there's some that have, no, we want nothing to do with it. And now after it's there, now they're paying to bring it in.
And it does increase your property value too, if you have it, your
Yeah.
ability to sell your property with fiber.
Rick, do you remember how much it was per foot? Like when we met with SciTech and we talked about doing it now versus doing it after the fact. I mean, it was.
He gave us, don't know the foot number, but he did give us for a mile, and I can't remember what that was either. It depends on the area too, he said, for digging. They have some areas they gotta, where they have to go through, it's just more expensive.
Well, and for an example, just coming down our driveway at my residence, it was like $4,000 after the fact
After the fact.
to have that dug in. So hopefully residents along that strip understand that
They have it
as
dug
well.
in, yeah.
Yeah, so it was, I think it was well worth our time to visit with all of those providers, build some good relationships, and I mean, they're reaching out to us when they have questions, when they want some help, they're definitely reaching out, and that's, I think, worth a lot, and we can help them in other ways than just financial, and we're going to keep working on it.
No, I think it's good that you're reaching out to them, that you'll keep that communication line open, that, yeah, we're still not being served. Yeah.
So that's all I had with that.
Okay.
Good.
All right. Any other questions? All right, if not, we are done. Thank you.
Thanks, Rick.
Thank you.